As I reflected on our conference theme this year, my mind went back to the time when I was still in high school. That was a long time ago. And during the summers, I worked at Texas A&M Experimental Station in oilseed research. And I was just a gopher, and we had certainly a PhD there who ended up being our church I pastored after I was a man. That was an interesting thing. Really good person who did a lot of dedicated research. But oilseed research was really interesting with the soybeans. They they had a field, of course, and that field was measured off in 20-foot lengths, and every 20 feet, a different type of soybean was planted. They had first generation soybeans and second and third generation crosses. And for each place, a marker had to be made with a special kind of ink that would say, this is lot 1520 257 or whatever it was. And then we knew what kind of bean was there, and that stayed there through it was put in right after planting. It stayed there through harvest. All the crop was taken care of. During the hot days of the summer, we would cross soybeans, one variety with another, to see if a new variety would produce a better plant that was more durable and yielded more fruit. In the fall, the time would come and the soybeans would be harvested, and they were harvested by hand. They were thrashed by hand, and the little soybeans were all taken one by one and put in their own packet and marked, and they would become the seed for the next year. It was quite an interesting operation, and over years, you was able to see a whole new variety of soybean developed that became a high-yielding soybean for that part of the country. I thought about that again this time, and just the sowing of the seed, and I realized, being in research, that it's so easy for me to get caught up in thinking about the research around the soybean that I actually forgot about the sowing of the seed. It's easy for us in church work to get caught up in everything else around the preparation or the research or the implications or the programming or whatever, that we forget to sow the seed. And if we forget to sow seed, it just sits there in that packet, or it sits in its sack, and it doesn't produce any fruit because it just sits and waits and waits. Nothing can affect it until that seed is taken up and placed in the ground, and then it's watered and nurtured, and then it can produce a plant and then a harvest. And the harvest can be many fold times the number of that original seed that was planted. It's just an amazing thing to think about. That's what the church is about. We're called to sow seed. In the older days, in times gone by, I think I was taught as a kid to go and witness to everybody, maybe grab them by the shirt collar and say, "You know Jesus," and if they didn't, to just really make sure they did by the time or that we were through, or that they wanted to be sure they didn't want to know him either. So that could kind of be obnoxious. I'm not really talking about that kind of seed sowing. I listened to a book by Dan Rather where he tells the story of Walter Cronkite, who was the news anchor for so many years. And after he'd retired, he lived up into his 80s or 90s. I don't remember which, but he just was friendly to everyone, and he got hard of hearing when he got older. Anytime he went to the general store in his retirement community, he visited with everybody there. And one day he and his wife were at the store, and he just went through the store, visited with everyone, saying hello, and visiting with everybody, whether he knew them or not. He would stop and visit with them. This one man came up to him near the end of his visit there, and he asked, "Do you know?" And the guy dropped his voice and kind of like, "Do you know?" And Walter couldn't hear who he was being asked if he knew. And so he was a really polite guy. And he said, yes, I think I think I've met him. I don't really know him, but I've heard he's a nice guy. Shook hands and walked out the store. His wife looked at him afterwards and said, Walter, you're going to have to listen better than that. That guy was asking you if you know Jesus. And so Walter replied, I met him once. I, I don't know him. I've heard he's a nice guy. Well, that's not the kind of seed that we're called to sow. We're called to sow seeds of kindness and gentleness and goodwill with people. I recently this year decided it was time to join a gym so I could turn back the aging clock and become younger again. Well, it has made me younger because I look around there and I realize I'm nearly 50 years older than a whole bunch of people in the gym, and for sure 40 years older. And I look at those weights, and when I go to lift them, I always have to move them up a few notches to get it from the heavy to the light. And after I'm through, I'm tempted to think, oh, I better move this back down and make it look heavy. So they'll think, gosh, that old man could really lift that weight really well. But, I don't do that really. But what I do at the gym is look for people and speak to people and say hello to people. And I've been surprised at how many people are ready to say hello back. And when I'm able to go about the same time each day and see the same people, I begin to learn a little bit about some of the stories of folks, and just share a word of kindness and a word of hope. Not a sermon, mostly just listening, but just sowing good seed. And I hope that's something of sowing. I just invite you to be resolute to sow the seed in this year, in your community, in the stores that you go in with a smile instead of a frown. You can go out with a frown after you spent your money. Go in with a smile. I had a thing the other day that I was talking to somebody on something on one of my accounts on the internet, and they actually thanked me for being polite to them. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're in a terrible situation where people are thanking me, for just being polite. One of the things I've heard several people say is we just want to get our attendance back to where it was pre-COVID. Friends, I would like to take that burden off your shoulders. The goal is not to get to some numerical value of the number of people we have in church, or the number of people we have in this thing or in that thing or the other thing. The goal is simply to sow seed and to make a difference by showing kindness and peace and goodness and expecting and giving the best of ourselves to other people. I invite you to do that in the name of Jesus. You don't have to have a t-shirt that says I'm a Christian and I'm about to witness to you. Just a gentle, loving spirit in the name of Jesus will go a long way toward brightening somebody's world. And that's what I'm wanting you to do. Share your life, invest in the people you see, sow the seed, because we never know what seed is going to take root and be watered and grow and be harvested, and somebody's life is going to be transformed, and somebody's community is going to be transformed this year because of Methodists in the Oklahoma Conference of United Methodist Church. I invite you to go from this place, from this annual conference this year, ready to sow seed everywhere you can. Just take it out of the bag and scatter it. It doesn't matter where it falls. It's going to reach people, and it's going to spread the love of God. And when we have the opportunity to share words, that's great. But when we have the opportunity to share our attitude, to share our heart, do that. Do it in the name of Christ. Do it in the Spirit of Christ. Do it when you're away from home. Do it at home. Do it in your church. Sow the seed of Jesus Christ. The world will be a better place because we have sown the seed. Today, our postlude is one of my favorite pieces of music. It's John Rutter's "The Lord Bless You and Keep You." And I want to give you this blessing as we go. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace, both now and forevermore. As we depart from this day, thank you for being present and be blessed by this postlude by Judy Horn. I declare the 2021 annual conference to be adjourned.